Good morning. Your name is Cuetzpalzuma. You're a Mexica woman. And today, you're going around the city of Tenochtitlan. Today will be a busy day for you, so please, try and keep up. Our sources for this time are varied, and span from Aztec codices, written accounts by the survivors of the Aztec Empire, Spanish conquistadors, and various cultural and musical elements that have persisted throughout the centuries, each having their own issues, but combined offers a beautiful mosaic of the time and the life of many Aztecs. The date today is 9 lizard, Cuetzpalin, 1 vulture, Colcolzhalhuitl, and 11 reed, Acatl. Or, in the Western calendar, it is January 2nd, 1513. The great lord of Tenochtitlan and the protector of the empire reigns. Our great lord, Moctezuma II. This is your 5th day at the temple. You've worked hard to become a temple priestess, called a Nahuatl in Nahuatl. You are a priestess to the Aztec goddess of corn and harvest, Tonantzin. Though you're not as well known as the temple priests in the main temples of Tenochtitlan, you work in a small temple with 5 other women. There are minor gods for different varieties of corn, such as Zilonen, the goddess of sweet corn, and Chicomecaotl, the goddess of seed corn. Much of the information about the worship of this deity and of the temple have been lost to time. You currently serve the temple priestess, and you follow her every wish. You've worked hard to obtain this position, and you could be easily replaced. You serve a significant goddess who ensures great maize harvests, and the position you have affects the prosperity of the empire, so you must do your job with dignity and complete it diligently. Unlike many of the other temple priestesses, you got this job through hard work, studies of proper rituals and prayers, and countless dedication to higher education, while many other women got their positions due to their family connections. You wake up out of bed. Though you're not as luxurious as the emperor or the noble elite, you're not as poor as the average farmer. So for your bed, you get a stone floor with reed mats stacked on top of each other, called petado in Nahuatl, and known as petate in Spanish. Most farmers can only afford one, often made of coarse brush that's often uncomfortable. But you received 4 reed mats with your position that are made of softer brush, topped with turkey feathers, and even some flowers. It's quite comfortable. So before you do anything today, bathe yourself. Unlike the medieval Europeans, or even Europe until the 1900s, hygiene is incredibly important. All Aztecs, or residents of Tenochtitlan, must bathe daily. You must bathe daily as well. You must rinse and wash your hair with yucca soap, and you put on an early form of deodorant, composed of charcoal, flowers, and incense. You'll rub your teeth with charcoal and cactus spines to clean it. And to quell that morning breath, you'll grind up some flowers to chew, adding a floral scent to your breath. Now the sources are unsure of this. However, being a woman, you might have worn a cuitl. However, as a priestess, you might have worn a similar version of this, but longer and with no sleeves. Regardless, you start your day with putting on your clothes. While opinions on modesty was viewed differently in the Aztec Empire, you represent an Aztec goddess. Thus, you must dress appropriately of someone of your class and status. As you look around the city, you're in the current district of Aztec in the eastern part of the city. You're surrounded by chinampas, otherwise known as floating gardens. They are filled with peppers, cactus, and corn. Nearby, some small hamlets and a few minor nobles' houses. Sounds of monkeys howl through the streets, as you can hear birds squawking, dogs barking, and turkeys gobbling. Each of these animals being a common sight in this ancient city. You start your day by offering morning prayers to the goddess Zentiotl, and offering a bloodletting to the sun god Huitzilopochtli. Though unlike the nobles and the emperor, you won't rip your tongue with a jagged spine. That is reserved for the elite. You'll have to settle for something more humble. Pricking your thumb with a cactus spine, just a few drops should be enough for the god to march on. The priestess tells you that she's running out of temple offerings and the necessities needed. You'll need to pick up some copal, a tree resin that is used as incense. You'll need to buy food for the other priestesses, maize for the temple, and some feathers. You'll be able to buy all of these at the market. The priestess gives you a small leather bag filled with cacao beans, strips of fine cloth, and a few small golden nuggets. You cannot afford to buy any more than what you need. You'll need to walk to the market Tonantzin local. Though it might seem like a chore, it's incredibly exciting. You'll get to see all the goods of the empire all in one place. And with people from various provinces coming together to trade their goods. You'll hear dialects of Nahuatl from all across Mesoamerica. For as grand as the city is, it is not without concern. Recently, there was a murder in a neighboring district. A woman killed her husband by getting him drunk and throwing him in the canal of the city, drowning him. There are little mounds in almost everybody's homes. Former children that had died, not from human sacrifice, but from the reality of everyday life. This city, like many others, has its tragedies. As you walk towards the market, you see animals floating in the canals. They'll be cleaned up later, but it is the tragic reality of city life. Animals die. Of course, one fact about the canals you cannot ignore is the smell. Smells of putrid, foul decay. Though the city was known as the Venice of the West, much like the historical Venice of Europe, there was no plumbing. All fecal matter was either used for fertilizer in the chinapas, taken to the mainland in canoes, or dumped in the canal. While there were public privies and many homes had private privies, a substantial majority could not afford one. Though with the next rainfall, it'll clear away. Taking step by step on the clean and polished stones of the street, you hear the chatter of people going about their day, and watch as a team of cleaners come through, each with a broom and a bag, collecting all the trash they see and sweeping everything else into the canal. Later in the day, they will bring pots of water and wash the road. For this city is holy, and to the Aztecs, cleanliness is next to godliness. Walk past people with missing limbs, missing appendages, and with shaved heads. All people that have committed minor or major crimes against the state and the society. Though Aztec society was beautiful, and it had differing morality to what we have now, it was brutal. Criminal offenses, such as stealing cacao, stealing over 20 ears of corn, or getting drunk in public, was punishable by death. Walking through the shimmering streets and the glistening buildings, you find yourself in the great market of Tlatelolco. You're filled with excitement, though you better watch yourself. You might get your bag stolen. There are people from all over the empire, wearing all kinds of different clothing. There are merchants from Colima, weavers from the Maya lowlands, people selling conchas from Mixtec lands, pottery makers from Tarascan, musicians from Zacatecas, and many more. You are astounded by the wealth of diversity to be found in this one part of the city. You hear songs being played, such as this one.
We Tonantzin, we Tonantzin, Ipalemuani no yolopaki, Tlatzlo kamati Tonantzin, Ipalemuani no yolopaki, Tlatzlo kamatli Tonantzin. We Tonantzin, we Tonantzin, Ipalemuani no yolopaki, Tlatzlo kamatli Tonantzin, Ipalemuani no yolopaki, Tlatzlo kamati Tonantzin. We Tonantzin, we Tonantzin, Ipalemuani no yolopaki, Tlatzlo kamati Tonantzin, Ipalemuani no yolopaki, Tlatzlo kamati Tonantzin. Tonantzin, 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 Tonantzin. We Tonantzin, we Tonantzin, Ipalemuani no yolopaki, Tlatzlo kamati Tonantzin, Ipalemuani no yolopaki, Tlatzlo kamati Tonantzin.
You hear conversations, such as this one.
Oniwalkalak nikwikani nepapan xochitlalpan waltel kishtikan tetlamachtika. Onkanawach tonamiokia utimani, onkan kwikwika in nepapan tlasototome, on kwika tlasa in koyol tototl kawantimani in toskitsin in kellel kishtia in tloke inawakeyiwan Dios. Owaya, owaya. Onkan nikaki in kwikanelwayotl in nikwikani, tlakaso amo tlatlikpak in peuyektli en kwikatl. Tlakaso ompa in iluikatl itikwalkakisti in konewa in tlasokoyol tototl in kimewilia in nepapan teokecholme sakwan tototl. Onkan tlakaso kiektenewa in tloke in nawake, owaya, owaya. Ni olpo shawa in nikakia, ni kwikani akokisa in notlalnamikiliso kin pepetlatikisa in ilwikame. Nilkikiwili sehekayotiu in ikinangalkichia in ompa ontlatenewa in sakwan witzitsil in ilwikatl itik, owaya, owaya.
You hear jokes and riddles, just like these. Now, in between the question of the riddle and the answer, I will give some time for you to guess on your own. What is it? She plays music while moving her head. A shaker. What is it that we enter in 3 places and leave by only 1? Our shirts. What is it that says to itself, "You go this way, I'll go that way, and we'll meet on the other side"? A loincloth. And all throughout the stalls and vendors you hear dialects and accents of all kinds, from different places. The market is set ablaze with differing types of colors, from the blankets used to hold trade goods on, to the colorful feathers and products on display, the bright and golden jewelry of the merchants, the vibrant textiles flowing in the wind. Truly is a spectacle to behold. Golden baskets of maize sit in the sun, turquoise gleam from their dazzling strings. Art penetrates the market, with statues of various gods and goddesses for sale, and the brightly colored scales of fish shimmer as if still in their watery home. The smell of the market would have been overwhelming. The sense of cacao, bloody animals, fresh fish, spices, grilled foods, and incense wafting through the air. Vendors off to the side hover over open flames, grilling frog legs, cooking up fish, and baking tortillas of all kinds for their hungry customers. In Aztec society, corn was a staple, with maize accounting for the majority of an Aztec's meal, with the rest being composed of what they could afford. The poorest Aztec of this time could eat better and healthier than those of today, with foods such as frog legs, ground swamp flies, crickets, beans, squash, tortillas, and baked roots widely available and affordable. For the more affluent members of society, wild game such as rabbits, birds, monkeys, and deer could be afforded. Though rich or poor, everyone could afford to buy a bowl of pulque, an alcoholic beverage made from the fermented sap of the maguey plant. There was no currency in Aztec society. The economy was based on a barter system, with varying people bringing different goods to trade. A farmer can trade 5 ears of corn for a few pieces of cloth. A weaver can trade a woven blanket for 3 large ceramic pots. And a musician could trade a song for a fish, singing for his meal. Here are some examples of poems that were sung.
All the earth is a grave, and nothing escapes it. Nothing is so perfect that it does not descend to its tomb. Rivers, streams, fountains, and waters flow, but never return to their joyful beginnings. Anxiously they hasten on the vast realms of the rain god. As they widen their banks, they fashion the sad urn of their burial. Filled are the bowels of the earth with pestilential dust, once flesh and bone, once animate bodies of man who sat upon thrones, presided in council, commanded armies, possessed treasures, destroyed temples, exalted in their pride, majesty, fortune, praise, and power. Vanished are these glories, just as the fearful smoke vanishes that belches forth from the infernal fires of Popocatépetl. Nothing recalls them but the written page.
On the sides of the markets are merchants sharing jokes as they ingest bowls of mushroom wine. These are successful men coming back from a business trip, taking the drink as a celebration, and likely singing poetry such as this: I have drunk fungus wine, and my heart weeps. On earth I have only pain. It matters nothing. We are all precious jewels of the god, strung on a thread. We are all together jewels on his necklace. This poem is from the Florentine Codex. One merchant beckons you to come over and gives you some charred frog legs, a gift for being a temple priestess. The merchant speaks to the other vendors of each stall and tells them you are a temple priestess. You tell all that you serve the goddess of corn and that you're here to buy food for the temple, incense, corn, and feathers. The merchants clasp their hands in delight. It's not often a religious servant of the gods gets to visit their stalls. They all ask you to come to their stalls and give you food, baskets, jewelry, and flowers as offerings to the temple. A woman gives you a basket full of corn as a gift for the temple, and other women come by and give you reed mats, blankets, and extra clothing. The people, the city of Tenochtitlan, you represent one of the reasons the city exists and continues to live. Without maize, the city would starve. Though you still have to pay for the feathers and the incense, the gold nuggets and textile strips should be more than enough to cover it. As a token of appreciation, some of the vendors give you a small jar of honey for the temple. Though sadly, you see one part of Aztec society that was incredibly prevalent. Slavery. As you watch captured enemy soldiers being bound in ropes, led by guards of the city. These slaves will each have different fates. Some will be sacrificed on the major Aztec temples for the god of Tlaloc and the war god Huitzilopochtli. Some will be sent to work in quarries or to carry heavy loads into the city. Others will be given out as farm laborers for the many chinampas across the city. Though slavery was common across the world and was prevalent in many societies, it still bothers you, knowing the disrespect and the abuse some slaves may receive. While slavery is very distasteful to you, the sacrifice of slaves is quite normal. While human sacrifice was prevalent throughout Mesoamerica, not all societies were tolerant or accepting of this practice. However, the Aztecs were ruthless in their desire for sacrificing people to their rain and war gods. While this practice seems barbaric and evil to us today, it was seen as a great honor in Aztec society, with the belief that the sacred person would be with the gods in the afterlife. You are an Aztec, so you do believe that human sacrifice is a necessary evil. Though you may not like it, the sun god requires blood to keep moving through the sky. Taking all the gifts and offerings to the temple, you head back, watching as the sun glistens across the plaster walls of people's homes and the polished stone streets. Sounds of birds fly above, drums being beat at temples far off, and the sounds of people talking in the streets fill the air. Unfortunately, I cannot give much description as to the temple of the corn goddess. It was destroyed during the Spanish conquest, and written accounts do not specify much on this lesser goddess, though given one surviving Aztec temple and surviving written accounts, it will likely be a smaller version of a step pyramid, likely only 20 or 15 feet tall. The temple would have been covered in a lime plaster, though what colors or designs were painted on the temple are unknown. There would have been a surrounding plaza for the temple to conduct rituals for the public. Taking all the food given to you by the store vendors and passing it among the other temple priestesses, they tell you jokes and riddles they heard that day, and thank you for the food. Though you are in the temple to serve the goddess, will soon become close friends with the other temple priestesses. Giving the corn to the high priestess, you offer prayers to the goddess, as you place it in a large ornate brazier to be burned for food for the goddess. Offering incense, burning it in stone bowls. offering feathers and placing them on the statue of the goddess, and offering songs, singing to the goddess. Following this, your duties will be to clean the temple, wash the stones, and replace the offerings and flowers with fresher ones, although this will all be done on a different day. Later, as you recount the day and all the experiences you've had with the main priestess, she looks on with satisfaction. You've done a fine job as a temple priestess, and thanks to your work today and your diligent efforts at the temple, you'll be kept as a priestess for the rest of your life, or at least until the fall of the empire, which will be covered in a later story. I want to thank you for watching and listening to this. It really does mean a lot that people are this interested in history. I always find it fascinating what people can learn from this. I apologize for the short nature of this episode today. I am unable to fit all of Aztec society, culture, language, art, and much else of Tenochtitlan into one episode, and even into one day of one person's life. And please subscribe to HistoryFirst. This is a fledgling YouTube channel, and I'm still working my way and navigating through YouTube. But I quite enjoy making history videos. For me, it's very fun. And I think I will continue to make history videos